Kansas has got to jump on board with Missouri, Nebraska, and Oklahoma as surrounding states that have moved ahead with phone policies banning the use of cell phones in schools. Kansas is one of about a dozen states that requires and recommends local policy on the issue, but does nothing at the state level. That means they're in the same boat as Colorado. However, Nebraska, Missouri, and Oklahoma all now have state policy that bans phones during the school day. This is where all of America should be at right now, 9:05 on a Monday. So what's weird about this is, there's a lot of talk like on this crime issue about how these issues often divide along partisan lines. But this is one of the few issues that there's no rhyme or reason to red or blue and what states have chosen to go ahead with full bans on phones and what states have done nothing. Let me give you an example. Missouri, Texas, Oregon, and New York have the same policy. When's the last time
one of these things does not belong
that Missouri, Texas, Oregon, and New York had the same policy on everything or anything for that matter?
Oh, that's a 2 and 2, as Chuck Woolery would say, isn't it?
Exactly. 2 red states, 2 deep blue states, and they both agree. Kids should not have phones in the schools. It's a no-brainer. Meantime, you've got other states that have elected to ban phones during instructional time. That would be Iowa, Utah, Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, and West Virginia. All right, that's a pretty good backup option. But then there are states like Kansas that requires or recommends local policy on the issue of cell phones in schools. And Kansas is in a boat with Colorado, New Mexico, California, Nevada, Washington, Idaho, Montana. So once again, you have some deep blue states on this list, and then you have some deep red states on this list. There's really no rhyme or reason. And then you have a handful of states who have just done nothing. And once again, some of them are red, some of them are blue. States that have done nothing when it comes to cell phone policies in schools. Illinois, Mississippi, Wyoming, Michigan, Massachusetts. Makes no sense. At a time when you can basically predict what a state does based on its political makeup, this is one of those issues, one of the few issues left that apparently is not driven by partisan politics. It's one of the few things that actually appears to be driven in large part by some common sense. And that is that kids should not have smartphones in the schools. So I shared this map is up on my X page at Pete Mundo. You can see it there. And it was part of a big article written this week by the Associated Press headlined, "Students Face New Cell Phone Restrictions in 17 States as the School Year Begins." And Missouri is one of these states that has the new policy in place where kids can't have phones in the schools. And I could not be a bigger supporter of this. Now, my kids are younger. I've got a first grader, one who's got one more year of pre-K, and then we got the 18-month-old. So I know my kids are not of age yet, but I will make it my mission that as many states in the country as we possibly can lobby for will go out there and pass this statewide, and that Kansas will be next up here in our backyard. It's a no-brainer. I mean, I posted this on X this morning, and we got a bunch of folks. Sarah writes back to me here. St. James is completely phoneless this year, and so far it is going great. Mel writes to me, on the Missouri side, our school district has already done that. They started last year. No regrets, no downside. Now, I know there's always some of you that say, I don't know about this. Chris writes, I have to say I think this is a bad idea. If an incident occurs at the school, I wouldn't want my child to be unable to communicate because his phone is locked up. Has to be a better way to solve this that doesn't create a new problem. See, that's where the schools actually have to do their jobs. and have a system in place to inform parents if, God forbid, something goes wrong. And by the way, if you think that something's going to go wrong at the school and you're going to show up and be John Wayne, it's not likely to happen. It's just, I'm not trying to burst your bubble, but you tell me how exactly that's going to go. So for the 1 in a million situation, I don't think it's worth saying, fine, put the smartphones in all the classrooms where the kids are completely distracted and don't pay attention to anything, and they're scrolling through TikTok and doing whatever they want to do. No, you don't make policy decisions, and you don't make oftentimes business decisions based on the 1 in a million. It doesn't mean you don't prepare for the 1 in a million. You do. We live in the Midwest. You prepare for what, a tornado warning might look like in your home, in your community, at the schools. You do that, but you don't make broad decisions based on the 1 in a million. That's bad policy. And that's something that right now, when it comes to Kansas, they've got to get on board. And I know there's always this belief in local control, local policy. I'm sorry, I don't trust these school boards to make good decisions locally. I've seen very little evidence that they deserve the benefit of the doubt on this issue. 913-408-7957. Let's start off with Mike and Olathe. Go ahead, Mike. You're on KCMO.
Hey, good morning. I'm out of the classroom now, but I will say this. The high school I was at last year, when we basically took phones, basically put them away every time you came into class. No phones were out, or you got reprimanded. Or
now, was this your policy, or was this the school's policy?
Well, I had the policy for 2 years, and then the school board finally convinced the principal to do it, and they did it. And here's what happened. And they ought to take note of this in Illinois because of all the violence. The thing that I liked about it was not only were kids paying attention, but there were no more fights in the commons. Literally, there was a fight every week at this high school in South Johnson County, and principals got hurt trying to break it up. No fights, no bullying, hardly at all. I'm telling you, the safety factor, we don't need Illinois could probably help the National Guard stay out by basically adopting this policy, because their fights in schools would go bye-bye.
Wow.
It would make it a lot easier on the silly mayor. But my point is, it's not just about attention span. It's about violence and all the other things that you want to have on your video when you're filming the fight.
Mike, as someone who's in schools every day, when would you give a kid a smartphone in today's world?
Only if it was something that they had to research that the Chromebook wouldn't allow them to.
No. Sorry. I'm saying as a parent, when would you give your kid a smartphone in today's world?
As a parent, and I've got 4 and 11 grandkids, I would say 14, 15. When they get into high school, I think it's probably a safe bet to have one, but not while they're in school.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate what you're doing.
14's the age.
14.
Yeah.
All right. There you go, buddy. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. I keep hearing the flip phones are coming back. My kid's getting a Nokia. All right? That's the route I'm taking. Hold me to it. All right, guys? I know Mark's got the most mature 12-year-old, 13-year-old in America, and I mean that in all sincerity. So I know, you've got cream of the crop there, but I'm not sure about mine. I've got questions. 913-408-7957. Let's go to Fairway. Matt, go ahead, my man. You're on KCMO.
Hey, good morning, Pete. Big fan of the show.
Thank you, Matt.
I wanted to get your take on the idea that as a conservative, we fought for years to have local control over our schools, and you're now advocating for a statewide policy that's in line with, of all places, New York State. I don't understand how you can square the idea that we want local control over our schools with the statewide policy. I'd love to hear your comment on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, first off, I think, New York is more in common and more in line on this issue with a lot of red states like Florida, like Texas, like Missouri, like Georgia, South Carolina, Alabama. All these states do have state bans. But here's the thing about, and then we learned this during COVID, right? Cities and municipalities only exist under the statewide umbrella. The power in this country has always been intended to be with the states, not cities and not the federal government. The power has always been with the states, and that was the way the founders intended it to be. So I still think that, if you believe in federalism and you believe in the states determining control of its citizens, then I don't think that's being hypocritical. Not on this issue. 913-408-7957. But it's a fair question. Listen, I understand it. It's a fair question. But once again, this is not like Missouri going along with New York. There's a lot of red states and a handful of blue states that have all gone ahead with a cell phone ban in schools because the states oversee the schools, right? I mean, that's how the education system is set up in America. The states are supposed to be ultimately the power brokers here in all this. So that's another reason that I have no problem with the state doing this because they're the ones who oversee the school districts and they're supposed to be ultimately in charge. Eric in Overland Park. Go ahead, Eric. Got a minute, my man. What's up?
Very quickly, yeah. I don't know how we survived high school, junior high, and elementary in the 70s, 60s. It's unbelievable. I mean, they had phones. But you had to go to the principal's office, and generally you didn't want to go there, but if you had to, then you could call your parents. But, they were probably at work.
Yeah.
So that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Eric. In the 90s, I was using a payphone as a kid. All right? I remember late 90s going to a payphone. Being like, do I have 35 cents today or not? Or yes, go to the principal's office, go to the office secretary, pick up the phone, call the house, call mom. That's what you did.
Take the payphones out of the school, you lose an alternative source of a revenue stream there.
Yeah.
Used to go through and see if anybody forgot to pull the change out.
That's right. That's right.
I need to make a phone call. Is there any in here? Oh, hey, look.
Whoa, it's your lucky day.
Yeah.